You're welcome to this session, Inside Out, which is a webinar series. This is a maiden edition, and we are so excited to have you on board. Welcome once again. So, in this series, we are going to discuss agile transformation that would enable organizational health and performance. And this session and the subsequent ones will be a mix of interviews and panel discussions. So please feel free to add your questions to the chat room, and I will share that with our speaker for today. Treat everyone to enjoy the session. You should participate and ask questions as well. I am Sheila Mensah, your host, and I am a Scrum Master at Lean Icon Technology and Training. So our speaker for today is William Kosina, our CEO, who is a SAVE program consultant. He'll be sharing on the best approach to adopting a digital culture in organizations. So over to you, William.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you. I know the conversation around this particular webinar series looks at performance and health whilst adopting a digital culture in a scaled organization. The performance and health of every organization is critical. When we take a look at the performance, we want to go to the funding books. Let's go to the balance sheet. And that is a powerful book to address where organizations sit. But when you look at the other side as well, the health of organization has got the process, the technology, and everything that supports the organization in moving to where it should be. The health of the organization as well sits around its people. So when we start adopting a digital culture, the people become a very important piece in the whole jigsaw. We can avoid it because without our people, the health is impacted. And when the people are well taken care of, the processes, the technology are all put in place, we get a superb digital culture. Just letting you know from the start, adopting a new digital culture is not an overnight exercise. It takes time, and it's only organizations that are disciplined, willing to go on the journey, that get to where they have to. So looking at the overview, we'll talk about what is a digital culture, agile processes that enable that particular digital culture, why adopt it, and when you are adopting it, what are some of the processes or the frameworks that can enable you get there. Then we'll finish off with looking at the scaled agile framework for adopting the digital culture, and we'll look at the final challenges that impact organizations. Now, asking ourselves, what at all is William talking about when he talks about a digital culture? Because you and I know the world is changing at the rate at which basic systems, structures, and cultures that have been built over the years are unable to survive with what our customers want. If you want to continue using the existing structures, most people will call it, oh, those are siloed structures that do not help the organization in adopting the new ways of working. So the big key thing is we need to rethink the organization. The organizational hierarchies that have been existent in the last 50 years were great. They've done their great job. But when we are moving into this new era, and it's past 2020, we are almost in 2022. Organizations are looking at 2030, looking at green energy, green technology, green X, green Y. Organizations simply have to think differently, and they can be at a standstill. How do you address this dilemma? Do you get a strategy in place that helps you move away from the current hierarchy and say we need to adopt a new structure? Some of my clients have moved on to adopting value stream structures. Some are now looking at the future model for their organization. How do you build such models that take you into the future? Bearing in mind, if you take a look, let's take a step back, which things that are close to all of us. Most of us would go to restaurants, and the data available around restaurants is Most restaurants don't survive over 2 years. And if they survive over 2 years, then that means there's a bigger chance they will not survive after 10 years if they continue just focusing on the inside. They need to always take an outside perspective to see what's happening around them. Of course, when I start talking about outside perspective, some of us will say, okay, let's do a pestle analysis. Once we do a pestle analysis, we can understand what's happening in our external environment. Question number one, how many companies spend time doing that pestle analysis? How many companies spend time looking at things from the outside to brace up for developing the internal organization? And the scanning is not a one-time activity. This scanning brings a new way of thinking, a new approach to delivery, and a new environment that we exist in. It brings in a culture that transforms the existing processes into a new way of where we want to be. When I use the North Star, I mean, where does the organization want to be? Where does it see itself in the future? Most of these cultures are built with strong values. So I'll share some of the strong values that underpin organizations that are adopting a digital culture. I know these slides will be shared, so if I'm not touching on some definitions, you can definitely have it. What is a digital culture? Is bracing the new ways of working to match our customers' needs and to match the changing business environment. Here are 7 of the digital values that organizations are bracing up. The big question would be, should all organizations start having all these values? Values underpin the way we think. Values underpin the way organizations operate. So when we start adopting our strategy, we start, what is our strategic themes? What's our vision? What's our mission? What are the values that are going to drive us? And some organizations will go on the journey. Can we put in place OKRs, objectives, key results, to help us drive quarterly new ways of acting and new ways of doing things? Then they'll put in a transformation to take us into the future model. These 7 core values drive the way organizations who are moving from the traditional industries into software companies would rethink. I was looking at a company like MTN. MTN initially calls itself a telco. What is MTN trying to call itself now? Please type it in the chat room if you've heard a new name MTN is trying to call itself, if you've come across it. So initially, it calls itself a telco, but it's moving away from just the telco word. It says just being a telco is not good enough. They're rethinking about how they can adapt the new ways of working and the digital culture to make up the new MTN. So it's almost now saying it's a techno. It's no more just a telco. It's putting technology into its practices. Technology is at the forefront of the discussions. So instead of calling itself just a telco, it's put technology into its name and said, look, we are just no more the ordinary telco. We have shifted into almost a technology organization. Amazing. MTN, being a big company across Africa, has sat down and realized for it to be able to live up for the next 10, 20 years, it can't just consider itself just a telco. It needs to move into the techno space where it's using a lot of technology, a lot of digital tools, or a lot of digital practices, and embedding a digital culture to drive its way of working. And at the heart of a digital culture is customer centricity, the focus on the customer. How do we focus on the customer? Some companies will apply design thinking practices. We spent some time on design thinking in our previous webinar series, but design thinking is a hard approach to focusing on whom our customer is. Everything we do is about the customer. We solve problems for the customer. So we take that customer-centric approach. So digital companies that are moving into that software space, digital space, are number one, focusing on the customer. Because one, the customer's world is changing. Two, the customer is adopting technology at a pace where if any organization were to be complacent and not think about that customer, they would have lost it. Look at a company that's doing so well. It could come to a point where it starts looking inside without looking at the customer and bringing feedback from the customer to change its way of working. Before it realizes, there'll be a mushroomed startup that will start taking a huge chunk of its customers. And then its existing competitors would have seen what the startup is doing, and they would adopt their ways of working and start taking from that big company that has become complacent. So take an outside view and always be customer-centric. The next figure that we can see aside customer centricity, which is 59% on a survey done by Capgemini on companies that are adopting a digital culture, we can see there's a lot of collaboration, 51%. There is a big drive to collaboration if we want to be a digital first organization or a company that has put in digital as its way of working, and that digital culture is driving the way we think. Open culture, we've got digital first mindset. I would have thought the digital first mindset should be number one, but customer centricity always sits at the top. Agility and flexibility, being able to be nimble and addressing the customer's needs. Of course, when we start using the word agility, everyone will say MVPs. But in the world of agility, there's more to that word agility. There's the mindset, there are the processes and principles that drive the whole agility space. We've spent some time talking on agility and how organizations can forge forward in this competitive environment. We are in such a complex environment where the market is moving faster, there's so much competition, and organizations have to rethink of their model. So in looking at the digital values, these are the key things organizations should be looking at when they adopt a new way of working. So the big question will be, why adopt a digital culture? Why do we even bother adopting a digital culture? First, it breaks hierarchies and brings in speed to work. It empowers people and enables people to make very quick decisions. It encourages innovation because one, we being more agile, two, we thinking about the customer. The customer is at the heart of everything we do, and we thinking about what is happening in the customer's world. Today, I got a message about metaverse, and the company said, have you thought about metaverse? We can take you into the metaverse. It's the new world, and you shouldn't be a laggard. This company has thought about me and has brought metaverse to me, and it's something that I need to follow up, even though Facebook has been on the metaverse conversation for quite a long time. Looking at new ways of working and bringing them closer to the customer is what organizations that adopt a digital culture do. Thirdly, it enables such organizations attract talents. Most talents want to go to organizations that are doing the new things, organizations that are being collaborative, creative, creating autonomous environment or autonomous workplaces where people can have that autonomy. I'm saying there's autonomy and alignment, both autonomy and alignment to the delivery of the organization's strategy. When we adopt a digital culture, it enables us to attract the desired talent that we need. High levels of employee engagement when we do that. Do you want your employees to be a part of where the organization is going? If that be the case, then we really need to make sure that we are adopting the new ways of working, and those are driving our culture. It creates a faster working environment. When we talk about a faster working environment, it does not mean we having high sense of urgency without a clear burning platform where people are being burnt out and worked out. There's true urgency where we're thinking about the customer, and the customer is driving all the conversations we're having. It's that true sense of urgency that leads to higher employee engagement. And this is when we adopt the digital culture, creates the right burning platform, and creates the true sense of urgency, which leads to higher employee engagement. How do we do that? I'll go through a laundry list, but I would tell us where to start from. Number one, think about the current tools and technology. To go on that journey, you need to have the right tools, the right processes, and training your organizational staff and colleagues to be able to use those technology. It even involves just saying, if it's a new form of data tool, let's get ourselves into it, let's invest into it and train our employees to enable that journey. To define the organization around these digital values. Yes, there'll be an existing organizational value, but when we are moving into the digital space, we have to look at it. Do we have to be customer centric? Do we have to be highly collaborative? Do we need to have agility and flexibility? Customer first. All those things would have to be part of our organization's values. If they are not there, we're still operating in the traditional and old hierarchical system, and that won't bring the mindset shift that we want to see. Then we need to align the organizations around these values. It's great to talk about the values, but when people are not aligned to the values, we don't see the benefits. It's not a one-time activity. It involves sharing it, resharing it to a point where it becomes second nature. You should be able to ask anyone, anywhere, what's our current value? And people should be we want to be customer centric, we want to be collaborative, we want to drive the new ways of working, agility, and those should be key to the way the organization operates. Fourthly, we want to build in a process or sets of framework that will enable us to be competitive by taking that outside look and bringing in those experiences. When we want to take that outside look, there are things we can do. There are certain practices. We can send our people out to look out for the gold standard. They can go into organizations that are doing things. I like it a lot when people say, can we create systems or products like Amazon? Can we create products like Google? Can we be an organization like Philips? Can we? Yes, we're taking that outside look, and then we send our people out, or we analyze what they are doing by reading their reports and bringing those important things they are doing into our organization. Another way of looking at it, when we send out, after we've sent our people out, is we can bring people in. Let's bring the right skill sets in that would enable us drive the new digital culture. Does it involve poaching? Yes, we'll use the right practices that enable people to want to move to us. And if people want to move to us, they want to see that we're going to where they see themselves. So if they see themselves in a collaborative, in the digital culture, in an organization, its strategy is taking them to achieving world class. People want to come on that journey and be part of that journey. Lastly, we say, develop your leaders for the digital age. Actually, when we start the journey, is the other way around. We want to start with our leaders, because leaders would lead by example. Leaders would drive the new ways of working. Leaders must understand what agility is to the organization. Leaders must be transparent. Leaders must enable the creation of that burning platform to get the rest of the organization on that journey. We've put leadership at number 5, but it always starts with the leader. You need a strong CEO who's starting the conversation and is going to drive the conversation every single day. That CEO who's going to say, this is our strategy, we believe in it, let's bring in the performance and health structures that would help us adopt a new digital environment. Leadership is the start of everything. Leadership is the foundation of deriving a digital culture. And as Richard Branson says in his very good words, there's no magic formula for great company cultures. The key is to treat your staff how they would like to be treated. On this transformation journey, yes, there will be ups and downs. There will be days when people will feel this change is not what I've really bought into. But when we have those strong leaders who have the roadmap in mind, understand where the North Star is, they help drive the rest of the teams on that journey. And the leaders would help our existing staff by setting the right examples, and that drives the rest of the organization on the journey. Transforming an organization requires our leaders to buy into the process. There will be frameworks and practices, and we are going to look at how SAFE can help an organization on that journey. The Scaled Agile framework is an agility framework. It enables most organizations who want to embed a digital culture by looking at the current system and looking at how they can now build a system of the future. It applies the power of Agile alongside the contemporary knowledge of systems thinking, lean product development that helps businesses address significant challenges of delivering their enterprise class transformations. It's online. Go onto the Scaled Agile website. The knowledge is freely revealed. You can tap in, click, and get so much understanding of the framework. I'll just talk about a few bits of the Scaled Agile framework. Leaders. So when we take a look at the Scaled Agile framework, it starts with leadership as part of its 7 core competencies. Whilst earlier we talked about the 7 values, within the Scaled Agile framework, here are 7 core competencies. And the first or the foundation of the entire framework is built around leaders. Leaders set examples, leaders drive the new ways of working, and leaders build an organization that is digitally enabled and looks into the future. Another competency that's of excellence is continuous learning culture. It causes a continuous learning culture. It's not a one-time activity. It's an ongoing thing for all organizations that want to be part of the digital age. Learning becomes part of the things that will drive us into the future. So one of the key competencies on the Scaled Agile framework is that creating that continuous learning culture among the teams, among the managers, among the leaders to drive the new ways of working. Another competency is team and technical agility. You can build an organization, but your teams will drive the organization. So we need to make sure that our teams are well trained with the right tools, world-class, first-class tools to enable them deliver what is expected of the future. So we will build teams and those teams will drive the new ways of working. A focus on the product. And here we take a look at that customer centricity again. We said our number one value is customer centricity. When we focus on the product, we focus laser on the customer. How can we continuously deliver the customer's need? And it's using that customer centricity approach in design thinking to continuously reflect on where we want to go. So the third competency we can be looking at in the SAFE framework is agile product delivery. Then we've got enterprise solution delivery for large organizations who are building systems like Philips, Boeing, and big organizations that are implementing SAFE. Let's say the early part of last year, the entire COVID time, I was spending quite a lot with the Philips team, and they have over 140 agile release train, over 40,000 people working and thinking in agile ways of working across the globe. They've built an enterprise that thinks agile, and business agility is at the heart of everything they do. We're also now looking at the lean portfolio. The lean portfolio is making sure that our strategy connects with our priorities. If our strategy does not connect with our priorities, we won't be delivering what the customer expects. Our strategy helps us listen to our customer. We want to be customer first. We want to be customer centric. We want to drive data analysis in the new ways of working. The lean portfolio is where our strategy connects with our priorities and our tactics, and it enables us to deliver value for the customer. Overall, our organization must be agile. And when we say that, we are applying the values, principles, practices that would enable our organization deliver greater business and individual benefits to our customer. Organizational agility is being able to be nimble and address market changes. Without organizational agility, we can take a look at the outside and bring in feedback from the outside to continuously serve the market, increase our quality, increase our customer satisfaction, improve employee engagement, and finally, I would say, deliver the outcomes that we want to see. So organizational agility is so important to developing the digital culture. This session, we've given just a brief overview of the SAFE competencies, but in future sessions, we'll take a deep dive into SAFE. And if you want to understand more about SAFE, feel free to get in touch with our team at Lean Icon Technology, info@leanicontechnology.co.uk or .com, and the teams would spend some time giving you an overview of the things we do. It's driven by people, process, organization, and technology. For folks who are into analysis, they'll remember this as Puppet. Yes, we're taking that systems thinking look, we take that holistic look on our transformation. Every transformation definitely is not as smooth as we think it should always be. It's not like we start a transformation and we'll get to where we want to. All transformations have got their ups and downs. They've got their challenges. And here are some of the challenges we will share. A challenge that could impact any organization that's on a journey is when leadership underestimates the importance of this journey. It's leaders who have to drive and sustain the organizational change that will lead to the operational excellence we want to see. Leaders will help us in empowering the individuals. Leaders cannot underestimate the importance of the digital culture and driving this digital transformation. All leaders must have their hands on deck to get us to where we want to. The second item that impacts organizations on this journey is the existing culture. And an interesting book that I always like to read after every 2 months to make sure that I don't become someone who says, this is the way we do things. when our culture becomes ingrained and it's so difficult for us to experience the change we want to see. When our culture becomes ingrained, you hear the words, no, 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 we can't do it in a different way. Oh, this is how we've been doing it. Why do we have to change it? Of course, if it's working well, we can improve it. So we can never, ever be at a point where we want to say, this is how it's working. No, 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 we can't improve it. There is always an opportunity to improve the processes and drive new ways of working. So if you've got a colleague who's always saying, no, 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 this is how we always do it, just remind them, look, our existing cultures can't take us to where we want to be. There's an opportunity for improvement, and that relentless improvement would help us change the ways we want to do things. Thirdly, if a challenge that we would be experiencing is employees becoming more digital, and they see firsthand the lack of digital literacy among our customers. But let's take a look at this. If an organization is going on this digital transformation journey and they've got two value streams, the operational and the development, a value stream that becomes digitally enabled more is the development value stream. And in this case, there's a disconnect. There's not that systems thinking. The development value stream has become so digitally enabled, much more than the operational value stream. So when the development value stream build in products, services, or outcomes for the business is unable to serve the customers with those tools. So we've got a digitally enabled development value stream, whilst our operational value stream is lagging behind. We need both of them to work in tandem in our new digital culture. So we want operational value stream and the development value stream working in tandem in our new ways of working. So if we are developing as a company at a faster rate, we also need to bring our customers on the journey. And that synergy would enable us become a digital organization of the future. Finally, change. Yep. Change initiatives are impacted, or this transformation will be impacted by new behaviors. And change, it's not easy. Moving someone from one point to the other to change their new behaviors. But this is where our principle, our challenge number 2 comes in. Number 4 says most behavioral change initiatives, employees are not empowered to take on the new challenges. They are not compensated for learning new expertise, and they are not incentivized. So when we start the journey and we don't think about our employees, we still have the existing culture. We want our employees to be working in the future, but we've not compensated them. And we will say, oh, this is how we've been paying. No, we have to rethink about the entire model, take that systems thinking approach to improve everything we do. So if we are operating in a digital organization, when we are bringing people in and we are sending people out, we need to match the new initiatives with the right compensation to ensure that our staff, our employees stay within the organization. And this is heavily driven by leadership, and they set the right examples. What are the key takeaways I want us to remember for this discussion? Yeah. Adopting a digital culture is a journey. Organizations have to agree to go on that journey. And to get to that point, it requires investing all our efforts and minds to get to that digital stage, or to bring in that digital culture that will lead transformations. When we talk about the people, employees want to work in an environment where they contribute new ideas, collaborate, and grow. So the people element, which is the health, should be taken into strong consideration by our leadership. Any change we want to implement in an organization should be done both top down and then bottom up. If it's a radical change bottom up, great, it will take leaps. But when our leaders are heavily involved in the whole process, we see that change manifest itself from the top, and everyone would follow the journey. When it starts from bottom up, after a while, people will say, our leaders are not aligned. They say one thing and mean the other. It's like, listen, do what I say, but don't do what I do. No, we must have that congruence, alignment, synergy, and synchronization across the entire organization. So it's top down, bottom up in the transformation process. The CEO leads it and ensures that everyone believes in where we are going. Start by building a digital mindset among management and pass it on to the respective teams. And this will enable the organization to secure its competitive advantage with agile practices to enable the transformation. The framework we recommended is the Scaled Agile framework for large enterprises. There are other frameworks, but we think from experience and from going into the field, it enables organizations to think of from enterprise, from strategy to implementing those strategies and seeing the benefits, taking those feedback from customers back into the strategy or into the backlog, prioritizing it and delivering continuously to the customer. A digital cultural transformation requires that our leaders start the whole process, and the inside out thinking reduces complacency on that particular journey. When we started, we can't afford complacency. We need to continuously drive that burning platform. Thank you, folks. It's been a real pleasure to share some of my experiences that I've been, that I've been reflecting on various transformations. It's not in relation to one particular client. It comes from all the various clients I'm working with. And a digital culture enables organizations to serve their customers and continuously stay around as a business for the future. Sheila, have we got any questions?
No, please. We've not got any questions. So we could please send our questions to the chat box so that I could read it for our speaker. Thank you so much, William. Thank you so much. We are truly grateful. Some insights I took from the session was we should look at adopting new ways of working, which drives our culture and brings us close to the customer. And I am sure that that is one of the mission, and then that's part of our mission and our vision of the various companies that we find ourselves in. So we are taking questions from the chat room. So please send your questions in, and let's listen to them and tackle them. The first question is, how will you ensure incorporating accountabilities, which is involving stakeholders?
I would say accountability is extremely important when organizations are on this journey. So with what one of my clients is doing now, they've adopted OKRs, objectives and key results. And objectives and key results enable everyone to be part of the conversation. And the approach to using OKRs takes a shift from the existing KPIs where we look at it yearly and then we want to do yearly reviews or half-yearly reviews. Within using OKRs, or objectives and key results, it there is that quarterly drive to reflect on your objectives and key results. Did I deliver every quarter? And you setting them yourselves with your teams, and then quarterly, you review and reset it with the entire team. And it brings everyone to the table. And we have had these conversations. You said, these are your objectives and these are your key results. You stated them. Did you achieve the objectives you set? And did you achieve the key results? The key results will have initiatives. Did we reach them? Did we achieve them? So accountability is now being dealt with by yourself because you've set the objectives and key results based on the organization strategy, and quarterly, they are being reviewed with yourself to help improve the whole process. So we found that objectives and key results using OKRs have been very helpful for organizations that are adopting a digital culture. So new ways of measuring needs to be introduced. Someone said, what about management? On this digital transformation journey, it's all not about leaders. We need to make sure that the executives get training. The management are part of the next journey. They also get the business agility training so that they know what the teams are doing and can input into the process. Every team member gets trained, and that builds a culture and a mindset where we all singing from the same hymn sheet, not from different books. Everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet. And to wrap this answer up, we are in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment, which is the VUCA environment. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment. And the likes of companies like Facebook have not been around in the 40 years, but they are now dominant companies. And I could also talk about the things happening within Russia and Ukraine. It's just volatile on the market that it's impacted so many companies. COVID, a black swan, has impacted the market so badly that there's been a lot of companies that have gone bankrupt just from COVID now to Ukraine, and we don't know what next. So we are in a very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, William. So the next question is, Obapa from the Good Ladies says, what are some of the practical ways a mid-level employee can influence top management to adapt digital change?
Thank you. Very good question. And if we are on a journey where we are adopting a digital change, when we apply the transformation practices, first, we want to make sure that our leaders are on the journey. And the middle level management would also have to be trained, equipped to be able to support and ask difficult questions on this particular journey. Where middle level management realize that our leaders are not aligned, some of the objectives and key results are opportunities for us to spend some time, review and reset where we are and where we want to be. So there's QBRs, quarterly business reviews. At quarterly business reviews, we ask the hard questions. We use data to ask the hard questions. Why aren't we delivering what is expected of us? Why are we still doing, if these are the books, let's look at the data. We need to have been here. Let's say as a business, we want to deliver X, and we've not been able to deliver that. A middle level employee could ask those tough questions, and top level management could also ask that middle level those tough questions. And then another area we could be looking at is transformation, the new ways of working. Are we all adopting the new ways of working? We can give feedback to senior level management that, look, this is where you want us to be, but we don't think you are part of the journey. What can we do about that? You say this, but do that. How can we all be moving on the right path to delivering? So there are opportunities for mid-level managers who understand the process, who understand the frameworks to help leaders get to where they have to. It's in a collaborative mindset. It's in a continuous learning mindset. Our leaders won't know it all, but we should be able to send a message that would enable them rethink and shift their mindsets whilst on the journey. So leaders have the opportunity to rethink and shift their mindsets whilst on this journey.
Okay, thank you so much, William. Happiness is saying, can you throw more lights onto the acronym VUCA?
Okay. I answered it as part of my last question, but let me add to it. So it's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment we are in. And let me say, events that I can bring close to the VUCA environment. We had COVID quite recently, which paints either a very terrible picture on some minds, or it's brought opportunities to some people and organizations. That is the volatile, that's uncertain, that has been complex for many organizations and many countries to go through. And there was so much ambiguity around going through that COVID journey. That's a perfect example of a VUCA situation. Another perfect example is organizations who are being impacted by the Russia-Ukraine war. Most people did not expect it, or most people were anticipating it, but it's impacted a lot of markets, especially the Russian market crashed the Ukrainian market, impacted a lot of European markets. This is not a market situation as expected, but it depends on where you are when you're trading. If whether you're a bull or a bear, some people have gained so much from this, but for certain organizations, they've been impacted by it because it was less expected, and countries have got their inflation through the roof, their market prices through the roof, and very soon energy prices will be going through the roof. We wonder if what we get paid can pay for the energy prices. This is uncertainty, and this is complexity for most people. As an organization, due to the current environments, which we can see will have VUCA activities, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous happenings, we always have to think about what's happening outside and always connect with the reality. Some organizations would have said, okay, Russia just been at the border of Ukraine. There's something we have to do. Let's think about business continuity. Is there anything we can do to keep the business going? Is there opportunities for us to be able to traverse this complex environment? What can we do about it? That is preparing for such a future state. If it doesn't happen, we've gained the benefits and we still go ahead with it. We must always think about it from day one. We must behave with urgency. If we don't behave with urgency, we will not be able to ensure that we deliver what is expected of us. All organizations must continuously behave with urgency to be able to ensure that there's less complacency in their environment. And when we are saying urgency, we want true urgency. We want people to be involved in the process to understand that every day is day one. We need to behave with that urgency. It's not about being anxious. It's not about moving around and trying to do everything and get people getting angry. No, we have to behave with urgency and ensuring that we have that burning platform that's driving our ways of working. True agency would lead to collaboration, engagement, and a drive that everyone within the organization would want to experience, and that would lead us to finding opportunities in crisis. VUCA environment bring crisis, but when we have that burning platform with true agency, we can find opportunities within those crises. And on the transformation journey, let me just talk about the challenges we should all be aware of. Let's think about leadership driving the whole process. Secondly, be mindful of people who say, no, this doesn't happen here. Let's get them to come on the journey with us and let's reshape them. The change curve is there. We need to bring people on the journey, but just ensure that we manage the no-nos on the journey. Let's understand the framework and bear the framework. Let's train all the people. Let's get everyone to benefit from the process. And finally, there is always the opportunity in crisis. So let's find opportunity in crisis and let's benefit from those. A digital culture would enable us find opportunity in crisis and deliver to our customers' expectations. Any questions?
Okay, so for now, the questions are done. And Chinwe is saying, thank you very much. Ima Hope is saying, it's a very, very, very informative session. Thank you so much, William. Thank you so much, William. We are learning a lot. So I guess a lot of us took a lot of things home, adopting new ways of working, which drives our digital culture and bringing us close to our customer. Thank you so much for participating in the event and joining the session. It has been a very insightful event, and your questions have added value to the session. Thank you so much. And I would like to say thank you to William for spending time with us to talk to us and enlighten us on today's topic. Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you all in our next session. And you could please go to our social media channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and watch our videos. And you can also like and comment as well. Thank you very much. And we'll be seeing you in our next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. See you all again, folks. Bye.